Get this. Researchers have created a simulation with over 1,000 digital people.
Wow.
They call them generative agents.
Okay.
And these agents can actually predict how real people would respond to like surveys, personality tests, even behavioral experiments.
Really? That's pretty incredible. How did they even...
Well, they basically built these agents using like 2-hour interviews
Oh, wow.
from a really diverse group of over 1,000 people.
So like in-depth interview?
Yeah, like in-depth qualitative interviews about like their life stories and their opinions on social issues and stuff like
So
that.
that's like a massive database of human experiences?
Yeah, and then they combine these interviews with like a large language model.
Ah, so they're using AI.
Yeah, cutting edge AI, and it lets the agents like access and process all the little nuances and like the quirks of human thought that are kind of embedded in the interviews.
That's really interesting. So are they accurate? Like how well can these agents predict human behavior?
Surprisingly well, actually.
Oh,
So the study used like all the established social science tools, like the General Social Survey, the Big Five personality inventory, and even behavioral economics games like the Prisoner's Dilemma.
wow. So they really put them to the test.
Yeah, and the results were really something. The agents were actually really good at predicting the real participants' responses.
That's fascinating.
They were often as accurate as the individuals themselves, like when they tried to replicate their own answers like 2 weeks later.
So they're not just mimicking general trends, they're capturing individual nuances.
Exactly, and it gets even more fascinating.
Oh, how so?
Well, the researchers actually tested the agents with 5 real social science experiments.
Like what kind of experiments?
Well, they looked at things like how perceived intent affects judgment of harm, or how power dynamics influence trust, like real social dynamics.
And how did the agents perform in these experiments?
They were able to replicate the average treatment effects observed in the original studies.
Wow, so it's like they're mirroring real-world group behavior in a digital space.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you wonder, why even use these lengthy interviews? Why not just give the AI basic demographic data like age, gender, location?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it seems like that would be a lot simpler.
Right. So the researchers actually tested that too.
They did.
Yeah, they compared interview-based agents to those created just from demographics.
And
Turns out the interviews-based agents were much more accurate.
really?
Yeah. And they showed less bias when predicting responses across different demographic groups.
So it seems like those interviews offer a much deeper understanding of individuals than just basic demographics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like the way people tell their stories and the details they choose to emphasize add valuable information.
Absolutely. The researchers even looked at what happens when you remove that personal touch. They tested agents using just summaries of the interviews, stripping away the individual's unique way of expressing themselves. The agents still did okay, but their accuracy went down.
So it's not just about the facts, but how we humans perceive and interpret those facts through our own experiences.
Exactly. It highlights the power of personal narratives and how they shape our understanding of the world.
And here's another interesting thing. The researchers tried combining the interview data with survey and experiment results.
Okay.
And it didn't actually improve the agent's accuracy that much.
So those in-depth interviews already capture a lot of information about an individual.
Yeah, it's like they contain the essence of what makes each person unique and predictable to some degree.
That's pretty amazing. It makes you wonder if this is like the future of data collection in social science. Will these in-depth personal narratives replace traditional methods?
It's a fascinating possibility to think about. I mean, interviews are time-consuming, but they offer a depth of understanding that surveys and experiments often miss.
Yeah, I can see that.
Imagine researchers having access to vast repositories of these digital life stories.
It would allow them to explore human behavior on a whole new level.
Exactly. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's break down how these agents actually work.
Okay. Yeah, their architecture is pretty complex. It blends large language models with these sophisticated memory and reflection mechanisms.
It's like they've given these agents a brain and a heart, allowing them to process information and understand emotions in a way.
Yeah, it's really quite remarkable.
It's like giving them that human touch. They can understand emotions.
Yeah, so how do these generative agents actually work?
Well, at their core, they have a large language model.
Okay.
And it's trained on this huge data set of text and code so it can understand and generate human-like language.
So that's how they can communicate with us.
Exactly. It's like giving them a basic understanding of how we talk.
Right.
But it goes beyond just language. The agents also have this memory system where the entire transcript of each person's interview is stored.
Wow, so like every single word they said.
Yep, it's like giving them a personal library filled with the stories and experiences and opinions of the person they're simulating.
That's incredible, but how do they handle all that information? Those transcripts must be super detailed.
Yeah. Well, that's where the reflection module comes in.
Okay, so what does that do?
It basically uses the language model to analyze the interview transcript and pick out the key insights and recurring themes.
So it's like having a team of researchers going through all the interviews.
Yeah, kind of. It's like they're highlighting the most important parts.
And it's not just skimming the surface. They're really trying to understand the nuances of what the person said.
Exactly. They're looking at things like personality traits, values, beliefs, past experiences, anything that could predict how that person might react in a given situation.
It's like building a psychological profile based on their own words.
Right. And the reflection module then creates these reflections that summarize the key takeaways from the interview.
And what do they do with those?
They use them to guide the language model when it needs to make a prediction. It's like giving the model a cheat sheet.
So it's helping the model understand the essence of the individual's story.
Exactly. And here's another interesting thing. They used different experts to generate those reflections.
Oh, really? Like,
They told the language model to pretend to be different kinds of social science experts, like a psychologist, a sociologist, an economist.
so they're getting different perspectives on the same person.
Yeah, they're highlighting different aspects of their personality and beliefs.
And by combining all those different viewpoints, they create a more complete picture of the individual.
Right. It's like they're going beyond just one way of looking at things.
It makes sense, but real people are always changing based on their experiences. How did they account for that?
Well, they actually designed the agents to incorporate new information into their memory system.
So their understanding of the person can evolve over time.
Exactly. It's like they're giving them the ability to learn and grow, just like we do.
That's really important because people aren't static.
Right. And this adaptability is key to making sure the agents stay accurate over time.
Yeah, they need to be able to adjust their predictions based on new data.
It's like they're not just frozen snapshots. They're evolving simulations that learn and adapt.
Just like us.
Exactly. And this continuous learning process helps them stay aligned with the people they represent.
It's really fascinating how they've been able to capture the dynamic nature of human behavior.
Yeah. It really is amazing how they can adapt and evolve, like capture how dynamic human behavior can be. It's like we can see right into how people make decisions.
Yeah, and it's a really exciting advancement for research, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like imagine we could test out how well a new policy works by using these agents.
That would be incredible.
We could see how different groups might react and maybe even spot problems before they happen in real life.
That would be a game changer for policymakers and researchers.
For sure.
I mean, it makes you wonder, could this even change the way we do social science research?
Oh, absolutely. It has that potential.
You know, because traditional methods like surveys and experiments, while they're important, they also have limitations.
Yeah, definitely.
They can be expensive and take forever, and they don't always capture the full picture of how people interact in the real world.
Exactly. But with generative agents, we can create these virtual environments that are much closer to real life.
And see how everything plays out.
Yeah, exactly. We can observe how they interact, how they form relationships, how they make decisions, all in a controlled setting.
It's like having a social science simulator right at our fingertips.
It really is. And the level of detail and nuance we can get is just incredible.
It is. So what other uses are there for this technology beyond just research?
Oh, the possibilities are endless, really. Think about marketing and advertising. We could use these agents to simulate how consumers would react to a new product or campaign.
That'll be so useful.
We could try out different messages and predict how people would behave with a lot of accuracy.
That's a game changer for businesses. It could lead to better marketing and a much deeper understanding of what consumers actually want.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. Think about urban planning. We could use these agents to design better cities, more efficient and people-friendly.
So we could see how changing infrastructure or public spaces affects traffic flow, pedestrian movement, and even social interactions.
Precisely. It's pretty amazing.
This technology could really change the way we design and experience the world around us.
It definitely could. It's a really exciting field that's evolving so rapidly. And as these agents become even more sophisticated and lifelike, the potential uses are just going to keep expanding.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of generative agents.
They agree.
It's clear that this technology has the potential to really shake things up in lots of different fields and change how we understand human behavior.
It's a powerful tool, though, so we need to be careful with it and make sure it's used responsibly.
You're absolutely right. We have to make sure that it benefits society as a whole.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope this episode got you thinking and gave you a better understanding of this groundbreaking technology.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring the ever-evolving world of knowledge and innovation.